Lovely. A very good morning to you all. Thank you for joining me. My name is Chris and I'm one of the Shortcuts educators. So today we're going to be going through our point of sale made easy and our reporting made easy. So I'm going to be going through 3 or 4 of my sort of favorite reports. And then we're going to be taking a deep dive into point of sale. Now we're going to be taking the point of sale things that a little bit further. So we're not going to be looking at the things of like checking out customers or anything like that. Please do drop me a message if you are struggling with, choosing a client or running through a payment or anything like that. For this morning, we're going to take it that a little bit further. We're going to take a deeper dive into point of sale. So before we get started, if this is your first time in one of my webinars, the duration of this webinar is going to be between sort of 30 to 45 minutes, of course, depending on how many questions we get. As always, my microphone is switched on, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted. Your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar, so please, hopefully you can all hear me now, but take your time if you do want to just turn your headset up or anything like that. Questions will be taken during or at the end using the chat box, but I do always say if you do want to unmute yourself and chat with me, that's also perfectly fine. But we will be keeping an eye on the questions as we go through, but I'm hopeful that I am going to answer all of your questions. Okay, so of course then, what will the learning outcome be after today? So what are we going to be looking at? So we're going to be looking at point of sale and reporting made easy. So we're going to be looking in the point of sale, how to group clients together in point of sale using the hashtag group client. Now, this is a really simple but effective feature to use. So, with half terms and summer holidays and things like that coming up, it's a great way, or maybe it's already happened, I'm not sure, but it's a great way to be able to put like parents, family members, brothers, sisters, everything like that. It's a very quick and easy way to check multiple clients out as a group. Also perfect if you're doing like parties, hen do's, stag do's, stens, everything like that. Refunds. We don't do them all the time, but it is something we do get asked every now and again. So I thought, while we're jumping on this masterclass, let's take a look at how to perform a refund. And there's a couple of different ways to do it. We're also going to look at how to reprint a receipt. A lot of the times now we're not printing receipts. We might just be emailing them, but a customer may come back and say, look, I need this for my accounts, or just for any particular reason, we need this receipt reprinted. We're also going to be looking at how to add money and redeem money off of an account. Now, some of you may be using our integrated upfront payments feature or our cancellation fees, but if you're not, you may be looking for a more bespoke way to take a deposit or an upfront payment, so to speak, or you just simply want to put money on an account. Now, again, that is a great way if you've got a family member coming in and they don't, or they won't have a card with them, you want to put money on their account so they can check out seamlessly. We're also going to show you a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to show you how to search for a product at the point of sale screen without going through all of the steps of going through the company, the line of the product. We also don't need to scan the barcode for those of you watching that are not using a barcode scanner. We're also going to look at how to change a payment type if processed in error. We've all done it. We've accidentally clicked the cash button instead of that card button. Or, of course, we've been a little bit too hasty. We've clicked the card button and then we find that the card declines or it just simply won't go through. So the customer goes to the cash machine and then we forget to change that payment type that we've already run through his card. Then, of course, when it gets to our end of day wizard, our cashing up is up or down accordingly. I'm also going to look at how to use petty cash. Now, some of you may use credit or debit cards to do this, but some of you will most likely still be taking money out of the till. And that, again, can cause discrepancies when it comes to the end of day settling if we've taken cash out of the till and we haven't run it through as a petty cash. So again, if this is your first time joining us on one of our masterclasses, if you do have any question now, please let me know, but we will always run back to the questions at the end. I will just let you know today's session will also be recorded, so please let us know at education@shortcuts.co.uk if you would like today's class emailed over to you. But what we're going to do now, let's get into the fun stuff. I'm going to open up my shortcut system and we're going to start by running through those reports. Excellent stuff. So I've opened up my Shortcuts Fusion system. I'm going to pop my pin in there. And the first thing we're going to take a look at is just, like I said, we're going to run through 3 or 4 of my favorite reports before we move on to the point of sales stuff. So if you've never opened up a report before, I do have a dedicated masterclass and that goes through sort of around 10 different reports. If you've never opened up a report before, all we need to do on the right hand side, we just need to click Tools on the right hand side of our navigation bar. From here we can click the reports icon just here. To the left hand side you'll see you have all of your report categories such as appointments, the business, clients and employees. Then from here we can expand that report category by clicking the plus sign. We can click on a specific report and you'll see a description to the right hand side. So one of my favorite reports, and I feel it's a report we should all be looking at, is the value of future appointments. Okay, so as soon as we click onto this, the value of future appointments really takes into account any appointments booked into the future. Okay, it's a bit more of a forecast. Now, there are a couple of things to take into consideration when we're looking at the value of future appointments. It doesn't take into account any discounts that may be used. It also won't include any sundries. So if you've got an automatic sundry added to a service, perhaps a green fee, again, that will not show in the value of future appointments. Excuse me. It will also not show any series. So if that customer has been sold a series and subsequently that service is a little bit discounted because they purchased it as a series, the value of future appointments will take into consideration the full amount. So you may see some differences when you perhaps compare it with your trading summary, for example. So this is more of a forecast. So let's jump into it. So the value of future appointments, we click onto the specific report. And then nice and simple down the center bottom of our screen here, all we're going to do is we're going to click onto view. Now, with 99% of the reports, you will get this small pop-up window appear in front of you. To the left, you'll be able to filter certain things such as employees and or stock, and including any miscellaneous icons. The miscellaneous features will change from report to report, but it allows you to change things such as show definitions, top 10, top 20, show to employees, show to business, and things like that. And of course, for any employees, you can also filter it down to specific employees or specific stock if this is a stock related report. If we go back into the date range, you will see we have some current default date ranges to the left-hand side, making it really quick and simple to jump to a default date range. So for example, I've got the current day, I've got the current week, and we can see that it changes accordingly here. Current fortnight, current month, and so forth. If we want to take a jump back, we can also look at last day, last week, last month, last year. And of course, if we want to jump into the future, which would be more applicable to this kind of report, remember this is the value of future appointments, we can look at next day, next week, next month, next year. Having said that, if you just want to create your own custom date range, we can do that just here. So I'm going to click onto my range icon and I'm going to take a look at today. And I'm going to just jump right to the end of the week. Now, of course, you might wish to do 2 weeks, a month, or a couple of months into the future. Then all we do is we click View. Now, to the top left-hand corner, you can print or you can export using these 2 icons just here. And you can also zoom just here as well. And I'm just going to jump in a little bit further there. So straight away, we've got our value of future appointments. We can see our date range here in the period of 5 days. And we can see it's for all employees. So straight away underneath in this orange section here, we've got a snapshot. We can see straight away for that 5-day period from the 10th to the 14th of June, I'm going to take a total of £384. Now, again, remember, this is just a forecast. This won't take into account any discounts or series or sundries or anything like that. So we can look at that and then we can start to use it as a bit of a stepping stone. So do we need to do our marketing? Do we need to run a promotion? You know, do we need to advertise any of our particular staff members? So we know we're taking £384. But who's bringing in that money? So we know we're taking £384, but is it going to be me? Is it going to be a colleague? Is it going to be the owner? Who's going to be bringing that money in? So let's take a look underneath here. We can see we've got my individual staff members. So I can see Amy is bringing in 59% of the appointments, and that equates to £225. Then we've got Sam, then we've got myself, and then we've got Rachel. So think of this almost as like a big pie chart, so we can really see where the money's being brought in. So we may need to grab this and say, okay, look, we're only looking at 5 days, Rachel, but we can see we're only bringing in £17. That's not going to be profitable. That's not going to cover her wages. It's not going to cover overheads. Then I also like, we got this little bar graph just here. I love the bar graph because it really gives us a visual representation. It's exactly the same data that we look at on the left-hand side, but it's a really good way to draw a comparison. So again, at a snapshot, without looking at any black and white facts and figures, numbers, anything like that, we can see straight away there's a massive jump between Amy and Sam here. Look at the gap there. We can see it's huge. But between Sam, Chris, and Rachel, it's not too bad. It's fairly even. Then again, as we scroll down, if you're looking at multiple different months, so I'm only looking at 5 days, but if we were looking at perhaps April, May, and June, we'd be able to draw the comparisons there between the bar graph. And again, it really helps us draw those comparisons and see, okay, we're sort of on track with how we were in April, or we've seen a massive drop between May and June, or maybe we're looking 2-3 months into the future and we think, okay, we're doing really well so far for the future months. But it's really all about gaining a better understanding of our data, of our revenue, and of course, being able to budget. So that's our first report there. That is the value of future appointments. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to click done just in the bottom right-hand corner there. Okay, so the next report we're going to look at is our non-returning. Now, I get asked this quite a bit. I want to see, customers that have not returned. And we can then take that data a little bit further. We can also input it into a targeted marketing as well. So if you are wanting to sort of entice those customers back, you can do. But I think it's also always a good idea to see our non-returning customers. So again, we're going to expand clients just here. And we're going to go down to non-returning clients from a date range. Now, it is also a good idea to just take a quick look at the description at the top here. You can, of course, input your own date range, but what it tells us here is it says go back 6 months from today and enter that as your start date. Then go back 8 weeks from the current date and enter this as your end date. Now, that really gives us a sort of a net of when our customers visited. So if we were to go back 6 months from today, that would give us people that visited in around Jan, Feb, March, April, May. And then if we went back 8 weeks from today, that would take us back to sort of the beginning of April. We would then have a net of sort of the 1st of January to around the 1st of April. And that would be when all of our customers visited, and then giving them roughly 8 weeks to return. We always need to ensure we give our customers sufficient time to return. But you can, of course, if you're a particularly very, very busy salon, or maybe you're a barber's, or maybe you're doing predominantly hair extensions, and you feel your customers would leave it a little bit longer or a little bit less to return, you can adjust those parameters accordingly. But let's take a look. So again, we're going to click onto that report. We're going to jump into it. We're going to click the view icon down the center bottom. Okay, so in the date range, we're going to click and we're going to go back. We're going to go back 6 months, which takes us roughly to January. And I'm just going to click the drop down arrow here. And I'm going to choose, we'll choose a second. I don't think any of us were open the 1st of Jan, so we'll choose a second. And remember, we're going to go back 8 weeks from the current day, which takes us roughly to the 1st of April. Okay, so we've now got a net. We've got where our customers fall into. So they visited any time between the 2nd of Jan and the 1st of April, and they've not returned from the 1st of April up until today. But again, you can adjust that date range as you see fit to. You can also adjust the miscellaneous icon to see whether your customers return to the business as a whole or to a specific employee. So we're going to click on to view. Okay, so we've got our non-returning customers. Okay, so straight away here, if we just take a look at the note, only clients that had services in a selected period of the 2nd of Jan to the 1st of April and have not returned will be listed above. Okay, so you can see we've got all of my customers here. There seems to be a bit of a recurring theme. They all seem to be called Chris. So I won't take that personally, but they all seem to be me. Okay, and we can also see their phone number and their mobile. Of course, if we do need to give them a quick phone call, we can also take this a step further. Do let me know at the end. We can also use this sort of data into a targeted marketing theme if you really want to entice them back with an email. But as we take a look at our reports, we can see our employees down the left-hand side navigation bar just here. And we've got our customers here. So underneath, we had 25 customers that visited and 21 did not return. So here's my 21 customers here, and 4 of them did return. So I only had a return percentage of 16% because I only had 4 customers return. So not great, but of course it may be. Remember, I only gave them an 8-week window to return to. So some of these customers might be leaving it 9 weeks or 10 weeks or something like that. But of course, remember, we did set quite a huge net for them to visit in. So it seems unfortunately that these customers have been lost. But it's, again, keeping an eye on it. We can then go back. We click the back icon. You may wish to do the exact same thing, but adjust a parameter here under the miscellaneous icon. And you may wish to see display non-returning clients to specific employees. And again, we're going to click that view icon. And then we can see it here. So this gets a little bit more specific. It gets a little bit more personal, should we say. So we can now start to see those customers that didn't return, but we also see the employee. Okay. So we can see here, did not return. These are my 5 customers here. They didn't return to see Amy. My 2 customers here did not return to see Amelia. Did not return to see Chris here. So we may look at this. We may export this out by using the export icon down the bottom here. We may just make a quick mental note. We might just write it down and say, okay, for pretty much the last 5 months, Chris had the most customers that did not return as a whole. It's fairly even across the board. So Amy had 5. I had sort of, let's have a look here. If we go to the next page, I had 7 customers, none returned. Again, Gareth had 3 not returned. So again, you may look at this and think, okay, well, let's keep an eye on it. Let's run it again in 6 months. Is there a problem as a whole with that customer? Not that customer. Is there a problem with that employee? You know, do we need to retrain them or anything like that? So it's a great report as a whole to see who is returning and who's not returning. And I'm just going to click done on that there. Now, next report we're going to look at, I get asked this quite a bit when it comes to stock. Now, a lot of the times we do stock take, we do ordering through the system. But again, it's a great way when it comes to the end of year, end of quarter, as long as our stock levels are accurate, to really see what kind of products we have on the shelf. And we can also use that to kind of determine if we have any slow moving stock. So to the left-hand side here, I'm just going to expand stock. And I'm going to go down to stock control report. And I'm going to click view. Now, with this particular report, we can't set ourselves a date range, and we often keep it sort of as up to date as possible. So I'm going to leave it at today's date because that will be sort of live. Of course, if I was to run it for yesterday's date or the day before, we naturally may have sold products since then. So these figures will be out of date. And again, you can adjust those parameters, whether you want to see your retail or professional stock. Now, please note that only sort of takes into account whether your stock in the shortcut system is marked retail or professional using the correct filter. If you're not quite sure what that means, please do let me know at the end. It's not if you've just put all of your professional products in as retail. But if that doesn't make sense, please let me know at the end, and I can show you what I mean by professional and retail products. And you can adjust certain parameters there as well. So again, as soon as we click onto view, we can see all of our companies down the left-hand side here, making it really simple to navigate to a specific company like that there. But if we just go right back to the top, so let's take a look at the snapshot. So straight away here, we've got the total, okay? So I can see as long as my stock levels are correct, I've got just shy of 3,500 products in stock. Now that is a huge amount of products. That's a huge amount of value. So how much is that value we have? So on the right-hand side here, we can see we got a value on hand of £21,813.58. So all of my products equates to just shy of £22,000 based on the sell price. So we've got just shy of £22,000. Now, of course, when it comes to your end of year, end of quarter, your accountant may wish to know your value on hand. Now, if my stock levels were not correct, that's going to throw that figure, that tax, that VAT completely out. But let's say that's correct. I've got a massive salon, I've got a massive warehouse, 3,500 products with just shy of £22,000 value in hand. So where is that value made up? So you might look at it and think, blimey, Chris, that's a huge amount of products and a huge amount of value. But what makes that value up? So let's break it down. So underneath, if we take a look at Jessica, we can see it equates to just over 1,500 with 34 products. Then we can split it down into the lines. So I've got my Jessica treatments, and then the value and the quantity accordingly. Bumble and Bumble, color support, and again we've got the lines, and we can just continue working through on the left-hand side. So straight away I've jumped to Kerastars, and I can see I've got 999 products of my Bain Satin one, which equates to just shy of £10,000. Now, again, you may wish to export this report, you may wish to print this report and just write it down and say, okay, as of the 10th of June 2025, we've got 999 Bain Satin 1 products, which is just shy of £9,990. Again, in 2, 3, 4 months' time, let's take a look at that figure. Has it reduced? Has that quantity reduced? Again, we might wish to look at it and go, okay, we don't seem to be getting through these products. Do we need to do more training? Do we need to do a product promotion? Do we need to do a bundle? Do we need to be really selling this particular product? And again, it's about using that report, not just to give us the black and white figures, the black and white stats, but also how can we use it to further develop? How can we use it to upsell? How can we use it to, market our products, our employees and things like that? But ultimately, this report is fantastic if your accountant says to you, okay, what's the value on hand? It's the end of year, end of month, end of quarter, whichever it may be. What kind of value on hand do we have? And as we said, we can use that data to say, okay, well, we need to be getting through those products. We need to be looking at a promotion. And that is a stock control report. Now, of course, with Father's Day looming, it is this Sunday, some of you may be selling gift certificates or gift cards. Gift certificates, or if you create your own and running through a point of sale. Gift cards is if it's sort of set up specifically through Shortcuts. What I mean by that is if we have the physical plastic credit card style gift cards that we created for you, and you may have had some training with myself or Amy, or if you're using electronic gift cards. So that's a difference there. Gift certificate is if you sort of create your own and add your own tracking number. Gift card is if it was done a little bit more through Shortcuts. So if you are using gift certificates, there's a report you may wish to look at, which is called gift certificate usage, and it's under the transactions category here. And it's this one just here, gift certificate usage. So if we click onto view, you can set yourself again a date range. So let's take a look at the current month. Let's take a look at this. So we can see here we've had One Mr. Smith has ran through a £6 gift certificate here. We can see this was ran through yesterday, and this was the certificate number. So the certificate number is if you added your own sort of unique tracking number to it. Again, certificate, gift certificate is if you create them yourself and run them through, and that's why that certificate number was added there. Okay, and we can see it's the value there of £6. This will also show on your trading summary as well. But if you're using the physical gift cards through Shortcuts, the plastic style, credit card style ones with the barcodes on, or if you're using electronic gift cards, perhaps with a widget on your website, we do have a slightly different report to run. And this is all done via your online console. So I'm just going to take a step away from Fusion just for a sec, and I'm going to open up my internet browser and I'm going to navigate to console.shortcutssoftware.com. So that's console.shortcutssoftware.com. To the right hand side, we're going to click onto programs, and it's this tile just here. We're going to click onto programs. Now you'll notice here it takes us to view and edit transactions. So if you want to see a specific transaction, you can type in the card number here. You can type in the first name here. Also, if this is an electronic gift card, you can also type in the gift card purchasing email, just in case you need to re-email or resend that gift card there. You can also type in their last name here and the gift card recipient email. So again, if that electronic e-certificate or that e-gift card, I do apologize, that e-gift card needs to be resent to that customer, you can do all of that there through the programs tile. I don't think it's ever had to happen. People seem to be quite diligent with their electronic gift cards, but if you do need to do that, you can do that just here on the view and edit transaction screen. But to the left-hand side of your navigation bar, you will see there is a reports category just here. And again, the fourth one down, gift card expiry. Again, we can click onto that. Now, it will take a few seconds just to open up. Just going to translate that back to English. And then all we do is you won't need to select a community. It will come up with your business name, your salon name just there. And then all you would do is enter a start date and an end date. So I'm just going to do that just now, just so you can see. And then let's pop ourselves. I don't think I'm actually going to have anything. I don't think I've ran any gift cards through, but you'll still be able to see the report. Let's take it right back. You probably wouldn't look at a report date range this massive, but I'm just going to see if I do get some data. So I'm going to go back roughly 2 years. I don't think we're going to have anything, but let's just take a little. It will take a few seconds just to load up as well. Excellent stuff. Okay, so we can see here we got the activation company name. So of course that is a Shortcuts. And then we can see the site that it was used at, and then how many have expired just here with the value. Okay, so it's great again for your accountants or anything like that if they do need to see that just there. And you can also go into the transaction history export to see any further transactions there as well. So like we said, with Father's Day, it's very common to be using gift cards, but if you do wish to sort of run those reports, see when they're expiring, we can do that just there as well. Okay, so let's take a look at our point of sale. Let's make it even easier. So I'm going to open up my Shortcuts Fusion, and one of the first things we're going to take a look at is how to change a payment type. Now, as we said, it happens quite a lot. You know, if we accidentally click that cash button instead of the card button, or we quite simply are too hasty, we choose the card button, the card declines, and the customer goes to the cash machine. And then we forget to change that payment type. And then when it comes to the end of day wizard, we realize we're up on card, down on cash, and so forth. So it's very simple to do. Now, it may be some of you watching, ladies and gents, you may need the correct security in order to do so. So if you do have permission to change security, this is how you do it here. So again, on the right-hand side of the navigation bar, we're going to click onto Setup, and we're going to click onto Configuration. In the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click onto General, and to the top left, we're going to click onto Security. To the left-hand side, choose the correct security level. So for example, I've got my owner, I've got manager, employee, stock reception, and so forth. So if we wish to adjust the access for that security level, please do take into account if you have multiple staff members under that level, it will change it for everyone. Think of it as like a blanket or an umbrella. So if you do wish to grant access to your staff to be able to change a payment type, this is how we do it. We click Access at the top, and we choose the security level to the left-hand side. So I'm going to choose Reception. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to expand point of sale. We're going to need to click the point of sale and give access just here. We're also going to need to grant access to the transaction list just here. And we're also going to need to scroll down to this option just here, Change Transaction Payment Type. When you've made your changes, simply click Done in the bottom right-hand corner. And that will allow that particular security level to be able to make payment type changes. So how do we do it? On the right-hand side navigation bar, we're going to click onto Main, and we're going to choose Point of Sale. In the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click onto Transactions or Trans hashtag just here. Now, if it's a transaction for today, you can see all of the transactions here. But if you do need to go back, you can choose a date just here in the top right-hand corner. You can see all of the transactions for that particular day. So perhaps we need to change this transaction here for James. So we can see it was a credit and debit card transaction for £10. All we need to do is expand it by clicking the plus sign, select the service here, and then in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click the Edit Payment icon. We can click onto it, so we can see here the total, and it's conveniently highlighted the card button just here. So we're going to click onto Card, and we're going to change it to 0 because they paid in cash, and then click Done. From here, we just simply click Cash, and you'll see it automatically changes it. Now, please do not worry whether that customer gave a little bit more money and there was change associated or anything like that. This is quite simply the literal amount of what was required, so £10 there. And then we click Done and click Done, and then we just have to choose a reason. So we can just choose a reason here. So I put down a test reason. You may or may not have this option set up. And we can see we've now got a reversal and an amendment just there. And it is as quick and as simple as that. Now you can also edit the employee as well. So perhaps for commission, maybe there was a product that was sold under the incorrect user's name or anything like that. And we're going to click Done. So then what about expenses? Now expenses are a great way if we need to take any petty cash out of the till. So again, some of you may be using a credit card, some of you may be using a debit card. If that is the case, you will not need to run it through the system. It's only if you take petty cash out the till, because of course that will affect your end of day cashing up. It will affect your cash balance because it will recognize how much money is in the till. So all we need to do in the bottom left-hand corner is click More Actions. And if you see this option here, you can see I've already got Return Petty Cash. Now that tells me that at some point somebody took some petty cash, but they didn't return it. And you may have found subsequently, every time you cash up, you get a little warning error, or it may be that a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, you were actually out, you didn't quite balance. But a little bit more on that in just a sec. So we're going to take petty cash. So we're going to click on Take Petty Cash, and we're going to input the amount. So I'm going to say I'm going to take £10. If you're not entirely sure, okay, so if you're not entirely sure how much money you're going to spend, it's always best in the eyes of the system to take more, because you don't want to be running through different amounts or anything like that. So give yourself enough to cover. So we click Done. Now, in the eyes of the system, we're now £10 down. It recognizes that that £10 has been taken out of the system. Off we pop to the shop, and when we come back, we need to reconcile that. We need to tell the system how much money we spent, and of course, subsequently, how much money we're putting back in the till. So again, we go back to our point of sale, we click more actions in the bottom left, and again, we click on that return petty cash. And we can see we've got the money outstanding from here. So roughly 3-4 months ago, I had somebody take £50 out the till and it wasn't returned. So did they return all of it? Did they return some of it? But here's my one just here. So I'm going to click £10 and I click done. We're now going to choose the reasons why, and we're essentially just replicating our receipt. So I'm going to say for office supplies, we click add, and I spent £2.50. For postage, again, I'm going to select postage, click add, and I'm going to say I spent £3. And again, I'm just replicating my receipt, what I spent. When I'm happy, I click done, and we can see down here, return cash £4.50. That's how much money I should have in change. That's how much money I'm going to return to the till. So I click finish sale to finalize that sale. Remember, the all important bit is finish sale. And it says you must return £4.50 to the till and deposit any receipts. Please note the recorded expense cannot be deleted later. So do we need to modify it? I'm happy with that. I know I spent £5.50 and I've got £4.50 to return, so I'm going to click done. The system will now recognise I returned £4.50, subsequently spending £5.50 on those expense reasons there. Now, if you know exactly how much you're going to spend, if you know you're going to buy a pint of milk and you know you're going to spend £2.50, there's a very quick way to do it at the point of sale screen. We can click the drop down arrow at the center top, and we can click hashtag expense just here. Now, this is if you know exactly how much money you're taking and exactly how much money you're going to spend. So for example, perhaps I'm going to click on to the left-hand side here, and I'm going to click onto milk. I'm going to click add, and I spent £2.25. I knew exactly how much money I was going to spend. I click finish sale, and that will tell the system straight away I spent £2.25. Okay, so it's a very quick way to be very specific. And again, under your reports, there is an expense report for that as well, if you do want to see where you are spending all of your petty cash, so to speak. So we're now going to take a look at refunds. Now again, refunds, we don't get asked a great deal, but when we do, it can often throw front of house. It can often throw our stylists, barbers and therapists out. So it's a great thing to know how to do, even if it's a product or anything like that. And again, there's a couple of ways to do it. The quickest and most accurate way is to go into the client list here and find a specific client. So for example, maybe we wish to refund this particular one here from January, or this particular service or this particular product, whichever it may be, you can do that. So all you need to do is, again, you just need to know who that customer is, and what that product was and who sold the product, everything like that. So let's say we want to refund Chris here. So again, all we're going to do is we're going to search for that customer, and we're going to go in to their history. And we can see we've got this just here. So then all we do once we're in the history, we just simply right click and we go down and we click the refund option just here. So all we've done is we've gone into the history of that client. We've literally right clicked on the transaction that we wish to refund, and we've just clicked refund just here. See, it's been transferred to the point of sale screen to complete the transaction. So we click done. Let's go to point of sale, and it builds it straight away for us. We haven't had to know anything. You can see it's built that transaction, and we can see it's a refund here, and we can see it says cash out down the bottom. So all we're going to do is we're going to click finish sale in the bottom right hand corner, and we're just going to choose the payment type to refund that customer to. Choose a reason why, and you can email or print a receipt. you see necessary. Now, the other way to do a refund isn't as accurate, but I will show you this morning, ladies and gents. It will require us to know all of the information. It will require us to know who the service provider was, e.g. Sam. It will require us to know the service, e.g. cut and finish. It will also require us to know the price of the service. And then we can literally just build that transaction in reverse. So again, we go into point of sale. We can click new sale. We can click onto the customer, click next, click any one of the empty grey sale lines, choose the service provider so we know it was Sam, click onto service, choose the cut and finish, adjust the price so we know it was £25, and then we simply just change the quantity to a -1. And again, we can click finish. So you can build the transaction that way for a refund, but it's much quicker, it's much more accurate to go into the history of that client, right click and just do refund that way. It's very, very accurate and it saves you time, as you saw there. Now, again, we do have a report for this. We can go into tools, we can go into reports, we can go into our transactions. And again, we can see there's a refund list report just there. So we can see how many refunds were given. And if it's a product as well, you can see whether it was added back to the shelf or discarded or anything like that as well. So we can see all of the refunds here at the top there. So how do we reprint a receipt? Okay, so occasionally with Christmas or any particular sort of event coming up, you may get people that say, oh, I've lost my receipt, or I kind of have a receipt reprinted or anything like that. And again, it's exactly the same way. We can go into point of sale. We can go to transactions. We can right click on the transaction and you can see we can print a receipt. We can email a receipt, or we can print a gift receipt. Again, great for Christmas or any sort of seasonal event coming up where we may need to do that. Or of course, with Father's Day, if we're selling products and it may not be the correct one, we may wish to just print a gift receipt there. So very, very common. But again, all we do, we just gone into point of sale, we've right clicked on that transaction, and we can do print receipt, print gift receipt, or email the receipt as well. So we never need to worry whether that customer has lost their receipt. And then last but not least, one of my great sort of shortcuts, if you're not using a barcode scanner, is how can we quickly find a product? Now, often we'll find ourselves at the point of sale screen, clicking one of the empty grey sale lines. And when we click onto the product icon here, we go through the categories on the left-hand side. We then go through the lines. We then go through the specific products there. But if we've got that product in front of us and we're struggling to find it on the system, what about if we could just simply type in the name of that product? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click FN and F3. And you can see I can now do a product search. And I'm going to type in Bane, and straight away it has brought that product up for me. So I'm looking at that product and I can see it's a Kerastars Nutritive Bane Satin 1 or Bane Satin 2. I click onto it, I click done, and the product appears straight away. So we again can be super accurate. One of my fantastic keyboard shortcuts there. Okay, and we just run that transaction through as normal. So also, what about accounts? Okay, so we get asked this a lot. So if you're not using upfront payments, and customers say to me, they say, Chris, how can I get my customers to pay a deposit? I've got them on the phone. I want them to pay a deposit. Okay, I want them to add money to their account. I want them to pay a deposit. Or even you might have someone that says, oh, my son or my daughter's coming in next week. Is there any chance I can pay for their service ahead of time? I get asked that all the time. And it's a very simple, quick and effective way to do it. And it's simply an account payment. We're just putting money on their account. So how do we do this? Again, in the point of sale screen, In the top left-hand corner, always remember, ladies and gents, when we're in that point of sale screen, we need to click New Sale and we need to find that client. We cannot put money on people's account if we have not clicked New Sale and found that client. So we're going to search for the client, or you can add a brand new client in. It's entirely up to you. Here's my client here, and we're just going to click Next. So once we've got that client, all we then need to do is simply click any one of the empty grey sale lines. It doesn't matter who you choose. Essentially, the money is going to the business, but in reality, it doesn't make any difference. But it is a great habit to get into to choose business or Z business. We're then going to click Account. Now, if you've got this far, ladies and gents, and there isn't an account icon, it's a very good chance you haven't clicked New Sale in the top left and you haven't chosen that specific client. Remember, you need to choose that client. So we click onto Account here. We just simply choose the amount, nice and quick, nice and simple. We take the payment accordingly, and then we click Finish Sale. So that customer will now have £50 on their account. And there's a couple of great ways to visually identify us, but we don't really need to know. But for example, if I search for this customer, you can see here we are £50 in credit. So let's book that customer in. So when we check that customer out, we can see straight away at the top there, they've got that £50 on their account. So we know, we can see the outstanding amount is £5. So I've got more than enough to cover it. So they're not going to pay by card. They're not going to pay by cash. They're not going to pay by gift card or loyalty. So the only other one we haven't used is the other payment. So what we're going to do is we're going to click onto Other. And we're going to choose Account. We're going to take £5 off the account. And we click Done. Now, if there's any remainder to be paid, so maybe the transaction was £150 and they want to use all their £50, there would still be £100 left to pay. You would just take the payment as normal. But again, we're going to click onto Finish Sale. And that will redeem the money off the account. And again, give it a few seconds. If we give it a refresh, we can now see the account balance is £45. And again, last but not least, there is a report for this. We go to Tools, Reports, Expand Business, and we're going to go down to Client Account Statements. Not to be confused with Club Account, we're going to choose Client Account Statements. We're going to click View. We'll keep the date range for today. Click onto View, generate the report. Now, on the left-hand side, we can see all of our customers with their opening and closing balance. So, for example, there's myself here. My opening balance was £0 in credit. Payment received today, put £50 on my account, and my closing balance is £45. And I was debited £5. So I spent £5 on my dry cut just there. So I debited £5. And my closing balance is £45 in credit. Now, you may wish to look at this report to see if there are any customers that are in debit to you. So perhaps they owe you money. So if you use the account as an IOU, so we can see Chris is £400 in debit. If we take a quick look at that, it should look something like this. So there's £400 owed. Again, a great way to keep on top of that. And your accountant may be saying, is there any money owed to the business that clients owe us? You know, did they not have their purse, their wallet with us, and they owe us? And that is it. That is our essential reporting and our point of sale made easy. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those across. Okay, so with regards to petty cash, when we went through and we added in, I think it was the milk and the client refreshments, I think it wasn't postage. Can we change those? So can we add our own? Yes, that's a great question. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up Fusion again. And what we do on the right hand side, we click onto setup, we click onto configuration, and just here under sales, you can see there's an expense icon. We can click onto expenses, and here's all of our expense and petty cash reasons just here. So that's the list that will appear when we're taking and returning petty cash. So we can click onto new, and then we can add our own in there. Now, I can't remember what we had, but let's add laundry. So quite a common one. You don't really need to make too many changes there. So is this expense paid with petty cash? If there's VAT applicable to it, again, always check with your accountant VAT and tax laws for this. Simply click save. Done. You may just have to give a quick restart to your system. But then what you should find is the next time you're running through and taking petty cash or using the hashtag expense, we should be able to click onto that there. And there it is, just there. There's my laundry. Perfect. Great question. So you can add your own ones in there. Lovely stuff. Any other questions for me this morning? Lovely, thank you. So I think that's it for all of the questions this morning. So if you do need to contact us, you can give our friendly staff on the help desk a call on 0161 972 4900. It's option 1 and then option 1 again, or option 1 and then option 4 to speak to myself. Please feel free to drop me an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. And if you're not giving us a follow, please do follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us at Shortcuts UK. So all that's left for me to say is thank you ever so much for watching this morning. Hope you found it informative. Please do stay tuned for our future masterclasses and hopefully see you then. Thank you ever so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye for now.